my now husband. My friends were really happy because I was so happy, but my British friend said to me, I'm sure he's great, but you shouldn't do it because the British tabloids will destroy your life.
This week, Meghan Markle made a startling announcement, though the shock came less from what she said and more from the reality it reflected. According to royal insiders and longtime commentators, Meghan is now officially excluded from the royal fold. This isn't a matter of rumor or speculation whispered through palace corridors or teased in news headlines. It's concrete, undeniable, and permanent. She is gone, not in theory, not temporarily, but entirely. No private meetings, no reconciliations, not even a polite greeting. Meghan Markle has been removed from the royal family in every meaningful way. The decision was delivered quietly, without fanfare or announcements, but the impact was immense. This wasn't a subtle PR move or a carefully measured distancing. This was Prince William drawing a firm, unambiguous line. He declared without question that Meghan would no longer be part of his world. The choice was as much about the institution of the monarchy as it was about Catherine, Princess of Wales. Insiders say Meghan had crossed a line with her repeated attacks, real or perceived, on Catherine, and William made it clear that there would be no tolerance for further disruption. The catalyst, insiders report, came after Prince Harry's latest televised interviews, where he revived old grievances that many thought had been settled long ago. It wasn't just Harry's words that triggered the response, but the shadow of Meghan behind them. Her influence was silent but unmistakable. William, known for his restraint and measured approach, reacted not with public confrontation or emotional outbursts, but with a calm and deadly resolve. His response was quiet, strategic, and permanent. As a result, Meghan Markle has been completely cut off from royal grounds, family events, and even mentions in conversation around Catherine. Palace aides are reportedly under strict orders not to speak her name, particularly in the presence of the Princess of Wales, whose emotional well-being and recovery have been closely monitored by William. This is not exaggeration. Meghan has been removed not just physically, but from the very narrative of the family. What might have seemed like cold behavior to outsiders was, in reality, a protective and deliberate decision by William. His loyalty is to Catherine first and foremost, not to his brother's public battles or Meghan's vendettas. The true shock lies in how William handled the situation. There were no press releases, no dramatic announcements, no public confrontation. Meghan, who has thrived in the spotlight and relied on media attention to assert her influence, now finds herself in silence. This wasn't simply Catherine's decision or a move of personal revenge. It was William fully embracing his future role as king, making one of the most difficult personal decisions of his life, and ensuring that Meghan Markle would no longer be a part of the story. The history between Meghan and Catherine has been tense almost from the beginning. Royal planners envisioned a new Fab Four that would modernize the monarchy: William and Kate, Harry and Meghan, united in youth, charm, and public appeal. But that fantasy crumbled behind closed doors. Meghan, used to making decisions and asserting influence, often clashed with the structured traditions of palace life, while Catherine, calm but firm, became the face of resistance. Their disagreements before Meghan's wedding, widely reported, were just the beginning of years of subtle tension. The public saw rumors, headlines, and media speculation, but the real emotional toll remained private, hidden behind palace walls. Catherine reportedly felt hurt not by the initial incidents, but by how Meghan subsequently used them in the media, framing Catherine as cold or complicit. Those portrayals caused lasting emotional strain, even after attempts at maintaining civility for the sake of appearances. William and Catherine maintained a delicate truce for months. They continued to appear together in public, smiling, performing royal duties, and presenting an image of unity. But every media appearance or interview by Meghan or Harry threatened to destabilize that balance. The final trigger came during a BBC interview where Harry, without naming names, aired grievances that clearly referenced the royal family. Meghan's presence and influence, though unspoken, were evident behind his words. This was not just a public relations issue, it became intensely personal. Catherine, already quietly recovering from a significant health issue, was deeply affected by the renewed attacks. William reportedly recognized the potential for harm to his wife and acted decisively. He convened a closed-door meeting with senior advisors and made clear that Meghan Markle would no longer be mentioned within the palace. Staff were instructed not to speak her name. Communications teams were told not to prepare any talking points, and events were planned to ensure she could not appear, even accidentally. Meghan was not simply distanced, she was removed entirely. This royal decision is as much about protection as it is about authority. Catherine, known for her gentleness and composure, reportedly supported the move fully. The exclusion was not about spite or revenge. It was about preserving peace and mental well-being. Every time Meghan's name or influence appeared, Catherine's recovery and stability were disrupted. William's intervention created a boundary that Meghan could never cross again. Not through apologies, not through mediation, not even through Harry. For William, this was more than a line in the sand. It was a vow to safeguard his wife and the monarchy above all else. Prince William's reputation as the calm center of the family storm has been well earned. Measured, steady, and diplomatic, he has traditionally handled crises with patience, but insiders note a new decisive side emerging in recent months. When it comes to Meghan, William's demeanor shifted from restraint to strategic ruthlessness. The lifelong ban imposed on her was not the result of a heated argument or dramatic confrontation. Instead, it was quietly executed behind closed doors, in a controlled environment, with advisors present. William articulated his stance clearly, calmly, and with finality. Meghan Markle is no longer welcome in practice, at royal events, on palace grounds, or within the family narrative. There will be no letters, no calls, no attempts at reconciliation. This was a complete and deliberate shutdown, a royal exile, not in title, but in effect. Even more notable is how the palace chose to implement this decision. There was no statement to the press, no orchestrated drama, no public acknowledgement. Meghan's existence within the family was gradually erased. Staff were told to avoid any reference to her, particularly around Catherine. Royal engagements were planned with her absence in mind. She was effectively removed from the entire ecosystem of the family. One source explained that this approach is even more devastating than public confrontation. By offering no reaction, William ensured that Meghan lost the narrative she had so carefully controlled for years. Meghan Markle had built a reputation on narrative mastery. From her royal wedding to high-profile interviews, Netflix documentaries, and lucrative media appearances, she had portrayed herself as both victim and victor, a woman battling an institution while simultaneously rising above it. That narrative had been her power, her shield, and her brand. But for the first time, Meghan has lost control. Without acknowledgement, without headlines, without public discourse, she is being erased. Those close to her say that she is unraveling behind closed doors, unable to cope with the silence that now surrounds her. The impact extends beyond emotional strain. Meghan's efforts to reinvent herself as a Hollywood power figure have stalled. While her initial ventures with Netflix and Spotify gained attention, subsequent projects failed to gain traction. Even former supporters from media, fashion, and entertainment circles are distancing themselves. Her shine is fading, and she is acutely aware of it. Where she once commanded attention and influence, she now faces deliberate exclusion. Even her inner circle cannot resist the palace's silence, and her once loyal collaborators are beginning to disengage. For a woman whose life has been built around visibility and influence, invisibility is devastating. Meghan thrives on being seen and heard. The silence imposed by William is now her greatest fear. Royal observers have noted her absence from family discussions, her exclusion from media coverage, and the ultimate blow, Her name cannot be spoken in Catherine's presence. Meghan Markle has effectively been written out of the royal family, erased not by scandal or public criticism, but by the deliberate choice of those in power to ignore her completely. Inside Meghan's camp, the reaction has been one of panic. Former employees describe her as frustrated, anxious, and panicked. The structures she built to maintain influence and control are failing. Those who once aligned themselves with her now question their loyalty. Publications and media outlets that previously treated her as royalty are now reporting with blunt honesty. What was once a carefully managed narrative, entirely under her control, is now a void where her influence once resided. Meghan, who once believed she could rewrite the rules of monarchy, is facing the reality that she no longer has a place in the story. Silence has replaced scandal. Cold exclusion has replaced headlines. William, Catherine, and the palace have opted for permanent strategic quiet. For Meghan, whose life has been built around controlling perception and commanding attention, this is unbearable. Every previous tactic, every media appearance, every public statement relied on the oxygen of attention. Without it, her strategies collapse. The palace has not canceled her. It has eliminated her presence entirely. She is no longer a character in the drama, no longer a player in the royal narrative, and no longer a figure to be acknowledged. This is also a crisis for Prince Harry, caught between his wife and the family that shaped him. His position is precarious, navigating loyalty to Meghan and his own responsibilities as a member of the royal family. He faces a complex emotional and public balancing act, forced to choose between devotion and legacy, emotion and duty. His predicament underscores the wider impact of William's decision. The ramifications extend beyond Meghan, affecting relationships, reputations, and the very fabric of the family's public image. For William, this decisive action is about duty, authority, and foresight. The calm, silent approach reflects his understanding of what it takes to preserve the monarchy and protect those he values most. He has demonstrated a level of strategic acumen that is as cold as it is calculated. By removing Meghan's influence without drama, he ensures that the family narrative remains intact and that Catherine's recovery and well-being are safeguarded. Meghan Markle's story has always been one of visibility, control, and strategic media engagement. For years, she shaped perceptions and narratives to suit her goals. Now, she faces a stark reality. Control has slipped from her grasp. Silence and invisibility, imposed by William's careful strategy, have created a vacuum that she cannot influence or dominate. Collaborators are distancing themselves. Media outlets are reporting candidly, and her public presence is diminishing. The palace has not sought to confront her publicly, but has quietly ensured that her role in the royal story is over. This permanent exclusion is more than just a personal boundary. It is a precedent. The royal family, under William's guidance, has made it clear that attacks, public disputes, or media-driven vendettas will not be tolerated. Meghan Markle's removal is a demonstration of authority, a safeguard for Catherine, and a protective measure for the monarchy. It is both a personal decision and a strategic one, calculated to maintain stability and preserve dignity. The silence surrounding Meghan is deafening. It is the most effective tool William could have employed. For a woman whose life and career were built on headlines, attention, and public influence, this is catastrophic. Every former strategy, every media maneuver, every public engagement has lost its power. Meghan's inability to elicit any response, whether from the palace, William, Catherine, or even the broader monarchy, has left her isolated and frustrated. She is no longer a player in the narrative she once controlled. Ultimately, this decision reflects the priorities of the next king. William has placed loyalty, protection, and the stability of the monarchy above all else. Meghan Markle, once a central figure in the royal story, has been permanently sidelined. Her absence is deliberate, calculated, and inescapable. She has lost control, influence, and presence, and the palace, under William's leadership, has ensured that there is no path back. The implications are clear. Meghan Markle is no longer part of the royal family in any meaningful sense. Her attempts to maintain visibility and influence in Hollywood or media circles may continue, but within the context of the monarchy, she has been permanently excluded. This is a story of silence over noise, strategy over spectacle, and permanence over temporary conflict. Meghan's presence, voice, and influence have been removed, leaving her outside the gates, outside the narrative, and entirely powerless. Beyond the public's perception, the consequences of William's decision ripple through every layer of the royal family. Insiders say that Meghan's exclusion has altered the palace atmosphere in subtle but unmistakable ways. Staff now navigate the halls with careful awareness, conscious that any mention of her could upset the delicate balance William has established. Daily routines, meetings, and even casual conversations are subtly altered to avoid any inadvertent acknowledgement. The palace, once a place of occasional whispers and quiet drama, now functions with an almost surgical precision designed to protect Catherine and preserve the royal family's image. For Meghan, the impact is both personal and professional. A woman who once commanded global attention now faces invisibility. The network of media allies, collaborators, and publicists that she cultivated over years is fraying. Contacts in fashion, entertainment, and journalism are reportedly reluctant to engage with her in any meaningful way, aware that the royal family's silence speaks louder than any headlines she might generate. Meghan's influence, once broad and confident, is now constrained, and insiders suggest that her attempts to pivot into a Hollywood-centric brand are encountering resistance at every turn. Where she once shaped narratives, she is now sidelined, powerless to reclaim her former stature. The psychological toll of this exclusion cannot be overstated. Meghan has been accustomed to a world where she can create momentum through media appearances, high-profile interviews, and curated social platforms. Now that leverage has been stripped away. Even her most loyal supporters cannot counteract the deliberate void created by William in the palace. Silence in this context becomes a weapon more effective than any public condemnation. For someone whose identity has been intertwined with visibility, the sudden absence of acknowledgement is both destabilizing and disorienting. Royal observers note that Meghan's frustration is compounded by the impossibility of crafting a narrative when the most important institutions refuse to engage with her presence or actions. Prince Harry, caught in the middle, faces a unique and painful dilemma. Torn between devotion to his wife and loyalty to his family, he must navigate a labyrinth of conflicting obligations. His position highlights the intricate dynamics of loyalty, love, and duty within the monarchy. Harry's own public persona, previously intertwined with Meghan's influence, is now under pressure to redefine itself. While he may continue to express admiration and support for Meghan, insiders suggest that even his ability to intervene is limited by William's unambiguous stance. The tension between personal loyalty and the broader responsibility to the monarchy underscores the high stakes of William's strategic decisions. William's choice is also a reflection of his evolution as a leader. While he has long been admired for his composure, measured responses, and diplomatic approach, recent events reveal a more decisive and unyielding dimension to his character. The exclusion of Meghan Markle demonstrates not only his protective instinct toward Catherine, but also his broader vision for the monarchy. By removing an influential but destabilizing figure, William ensures that the family can move forward with stability, dignity, and unity. This is not mere family politics. It is a calculated assertion of leadership, a reminder that the future king will act decisively when necessary, even when personal relationships are at stake. The consequences extend beyond the palace walls. Public perception, previously fueled by Meghan's high-profile engagements and media coverage, is now facing recalibration. Royal commentators note that the absence of Meghan from events, narratives, and even casual discussions is shifting the public conversation. Media outlets which once competed for Meghan-centered stories now find themselves navigating a new reality where her presence is largely irrelevant in royal contexts. The silent, strategic nature of her exclusion reinforces William's authority while emphasizing Catherine's central role in the monarchy. This deliberate silence also serves as a broader message to the public and to other family members. It establishes a clear precedent. Attacks on the family, public vendettas, or attempts to manipulate the monarchy's image will not be tolerated. By choosing exclusion over confrontation, William demonstrates that authority and stability take precedence over drama or spectacle. The palace is effectively saying that the monarchy's reputation and internal harmony are paramount, and that those who threaten it, even quietly, will face consequences. The personal stakes are equally significant. Catherine, recovering from a private health crisis, has been afforded a measure of protection that is both emotional and strategic. William's actions ensure that Catherine can continue her recovery without the disruption of media-fueled stress or constant reminders of past conflicts. The ban on Meghan's name is not petty. It is practical, a safeguard designed to preserve mental well-being and emotional stability. Every staff member, advisor, and communications professional understands that Catherine's welfare is prioritized above all else. For Meghan, this represents the culmination of years of tension, public scrutiny, and misaligned expectations. She is no longer a player in the royal narrative. Her influence over media narratives, public perception, and family dynamics has been neutralized. Every attempt to regain visibility or authority is now met with deliberate absence. Silence, invisibility, and strategic exclusion have become her most formidable obstacles, and insiders suggest that this has left her scrambling to redefine her personal and professional identity outside the royal spotlight. Ultimately, William's decisive actions reflect a balance of personal loyalty, strategic foresight, and leadership responsibility. By permanently excluding Meghan Markle, he has protected Catherine, reinforced the authority of the monarchy, and established a precedent that stability, duty, and family harmony outweigh public spectacle. Meghan's era within the royal family is conclusively over. Her absence, orchestrated with precision and maintained through silence, ensures that the monarchy can move forward without disruption. This silence, more than any confrontation or public statement, underscores William's strategy. Meghan Markle, who once thrived on headlines, attention, and influence, now faces a void she cannot control. The palace has removed her from the narrative entirely, leaving her to confront the reality of invisibility. For the first time since her entry into royal life, she has no platform, no story, and no recourse. The silence is absolute, permanent, and intentional, reflecting a combination of protection, authority, and strategic foresight. Prince Harry's role, while complicated, highlights the human cost of these decisions. Torn between love and family, loyalty and duty, he must navigate an impossible middle ground. For Catherine, the protection is tangible and restorative, ensuring that her recovery and mental well-being are prioritized. For William, it is a demonstration of the decisive leadership expected of a future king, and for Meghan, it is a moment of profound disempowerment, as the world she once commanded now refuses to acknowledge her presence. In the end, the silence says more than any public statement ever could. It reflects William's resolve, Catherine's protected peace, and the deliberate preservation of royal dignity. Meghan Markle's era within the royal family is over. For the first time in years, she cannot control the story. And for a woman who built her identity around visibility, this quiet, absolute exclusion is more punishing than any scandal, more powerful than any media attack, and more permanent than any reconciliation could have been.